a tarot card reading on Prince William, and I think I'll look into William and Charles. Yeah. So part of the reason why I'm doing this reading today, so sometimes I get promptings, even when if I don't get a particular set of questions, but I would get promptings to read into a particular topic or somebody in particular. So I've been getting a prompting to read on William, right? And I get the same feeling that I got about a year or two ago, a year and a half ago. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the links. There's several videos that I did, but I'll just put the links to two videos. One of the videos is from Instagram, my Instagram page, and I'll put it in the description box or in the comment section. The other video is on YouTube, this YouTube channel, and I'll put both links. And it talks about William, right? I kind of wish I did more readings back then because the energy was so heavy, like it was so bad back then. Like I really wish I had just poured it out on video because it's really a lot and it hasn't gone right. So that's that energy that I wanna read into William's energy, especially particularly with regards to the throne. And that's what I was seeing way back then, him kind of overthrowing his father. And we can see it in the newspapers today, but it was already showing way back then at the time in the cards, right? He has started in the spiritual realm. And it's important, also an important topic, because I don't see many people, let me say, like readers talking about it, or even the newspaper. Like I don't see many people talking about it like in detail. I'll see like readings, or let me say videos or newspapers talking about William versus Harry, William versus the Sussexes, William versus Meghan, right? But hardly William versus Charles, which is the battle that is now raging. It's the Sussexes are more of a distraction. So it's like William versus the Sussexes, or it's like the Sussexes, right, who are the problem. But no, no, and no, it's William and that battle with Charles that is raging. Like I can feel the energy, and it's raging, and I want to see what it's all about. Yeah. Um. So on that Instagram page as well, what I'm gonna do, because I don't know how many slides. I'm not familiar with uploading pictures, like how many pictures I mean on YouTube. So I gathered certain screenshots of articles, right, around this year, around the coronation, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like it's just been building up, and the readings that I did in the past, like 2021, I think 2022. The one on Instagram is 2021. And like, I mean, it's really eerie just listening to what I saw, and then watching it play out, like reading it in the newspapers, how people encouraging William to sort of, like, people encouraging Charles to give way to William on the throne, people encouraging William to start preparing for his reign. Just things like that. Like people basically encouraging William in his coup against his father. Okay. He's desperate, William. He's desperate. So again, I do have conflict. Like whenever I do readings, even though the stuff may not already like have come up in the physical stage, it doesn't matter to me if the readings, especially, are really like as they've been heavy, right? I mean, you can see, I'm stumbling over my words because of the energy. Like it's so heavy. William is desperate. He's really, really desperate. So as I was pulling the cards, I was thinking like William or William versus Charles. What is going on? What is happening in the House of Windsor? For those who are being honest with themselves, right, in reading the newspapers and the headlines, they will see that there's been a bit of a like tussle between the two houses. I know that the supporters of the royals always want to of the Cambridges want to be pretending that everything is normal, and and all of that, but it's not. Things like, so I have the screenshot I have the screenshot of I think the few days after the coronation or the day after, when Kate made a surprise visit to where the Charles and Camilla were going to. So she made a surprise visit and she ended up taking the headlines, right? Now, whilst we're living through it, at this moment that we're living through it, a lot of people uh and a lot of Cambridge fans may want to say it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but it is because we know very well how important it was for the royals and for the royal family fans that protocol is strictly adhered to. And of course, I remember, for example, when Meghan would do unannounced visits, surprised visits on the same day that Kate, right, would have a visit as well, that Catherine would have a visit. And, Cambridge fans, like royal fans, they used to go crazy. They were not wrong. Like, of course, don't try to steal headlines when you can do your events, let's say the week after, as has always been the case with the royals. Like, you manage the timing. Oh, I'll speak later. But Megan used to do that, and now Catherine has started doing that, and that energy is not going to, it's not going to stop. Yeah, and it's not, and it's indicative of what um the Cambridge household want to do with Charles and his wife Camilla. Yeah, like they just want to push them aside. They've already started doing that. Again, I've done readings on that before, but they just want to push them aside. Yeah. Um, okay. For the sake of money, um, they want attention because money brings attention. William, he wants to use the Duchy of Cornwall, the money from that, to help his mission to not just overthrow his father, but then grab other people's lands. Again, in those readings that I did a couple of years back, or at least last year, I talked about that a little bit. William grabbing land, like that kept coming up and it's still coming up. So that's something that he wants to use. Like, it's as if he wants to exchange people's freedom for the land. So, in other words, again, he wants to take people back to the era, to the time, to the age where a royal would say your life or your house, right? Or your house for your life, kind of thing. Like, give people that kind of choice. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But although it's not going to work, I do feel they need to do a reading just because, like, the war is raging and it's gonna come out just like it won't be in bits and pieces anymore. So the screenshots that I have of those articles talking about the Cambridges and Camilla Charles, those are like, I think it's less than 10 that I was able to get, but there's a lot more to come. So it's gonna be raging. It's gonna be raging. That as well as the staff issues that they're gonna have. So that is not going either. But the major thing that I've been picking up and I want to read into William, Catherine, and Charles and Camilla. Okay, so money is what he wants, right, William? And it's like him taking money from his father. So you can see here, like it's an old person, like it's an old character. The person is old, so similar to Charles, similar to Charles, and but the money. So it sort of indicates William wanting to get money from Charles to use against him. So using his money, the money he gets from him, to burn him up, and cast him aside. Now, is Charles's reign going to be long? It won't be too long, but it will not be as short as people expect, and especially as Williams fans the Cambridge fans expect. And one of the reasons is because Charles is being protected, or at the very least, like he's being kept beyond what William's actions would like him to be. Like, if what William is doing, Charles was supposed to be like in his death throes by now, but he isn't. And I don't see him living for a good few years. So what it means is William's plans are gonna have to like both slow down but also speed up. Speed up in the sense that he's going to make a lot of mistakes, many mistakes. Again, similar to like the Meghan Markle theme, where she made so many mistakes and slip ups, like to the point where people were wondering, like to the point where it was difficult to say whether she was doing it on purpose or not, because she was that clumsy. Like she was so clumsy, it was hard to say, are you really doing this on purpose? Like, I mean, this is so blatant and obvious. That's what I'm getting from William. Yeah, like that kind of blatant attack on people's homes, houses, and all of that. Now, I read, so when I got this sort of urge to do a reading on him, right? So I went online to see like the latest news, because I was just wondering, like, why is this coming on so strongly? Like, why am I feeling this urge to read on him? So I went online, and I think one of the latest articles was about him getting involved in housing and eradicating homelessness, right? Which I did talk about in in a previous reading, like the royals claiming to love the country but being comfortable with having all their properties, and then there are people who don't have a home, who are homeless and all of that, right? Or who are poor. Now, him doing that, it's in order to gain points, and not for the right reasons, like not for beautiful reasons. Although in the reading that I did, so on the Instagram page, right? If you watch that reading, there's a card that I brought out. There was a card that came up. It was sort of like someone riding a white horse. And the person riding the white horse, it was the death card. The death card. Uh from the tarot weight. Sorry, I think it's the tarot weight. I don't know the name of the deck. But anyway, it was a person holding a flag, a black flag, kind of like signifying death. And then the person was riding a white horse. So the white horse signifying like William riding noble causes, like riding jumping on noble causes, right? But those noble causes are what he would use to cover himself. He would use it to elevate himself off of the ground so that you don't see the things he's doing on the ground, right? But in his, if you look close, if you look carefully, even though he's not on the ground, his hand is holding a black flag, and the black flag signifying death, right? Death of the spirit, death of spiritual things. So meaning he doesn't want people to see or notice what he's doing and what he's been doing in the realm of the spiritual. But of course, he didn't expect people like myself to pay attention to him anymore. And I know that for one reason, he's been threatening us. Like, at least I can definitely speak for myself. The threats and like even the energies, and when you read cards falling apart, even that card that fell just now, kind of like the energy being so violent because he doesn't want to be read into. Yeah, because this battle that is raging with him and Charles, like, let me say this, it's not going to be ugly. First of all, it's going to be contained. So it's like contained, right? But in a glass, something like a glass box, because you can still see it. Or even if you're not looking, you can feel the flames, but you can't really tell because it's contained. You can't tell how far it's going to go. But what I'm seeing, it's going to go as far as you can imagine. Yeah, like that is that is the energy, and that is the goal, that is the purpose, and that is the destination for William and Catherine. Yeah. So it's not rosy. It's not rosy, and it's not going to end up rosy. Like he wants to he wants to strangle whatever opportunity there is or would be for Charles to have a reign that has a lasting impact, number one, or any kind of impact at all. Yeah. So in the headlines that I'll post on that Instagram page, you'll see just like even on the coronation how he interfered. Like people didn't, I guess, want to. or they didn't pay attention to it, right? Lots of people noticed, but they didn't follow it up, and they're still not following it up from what I'm sensing. Like it's as if they think it's a game, or like as if William is not that serious, kind of thing. But it's a whole power trip. The William that we used to know before is no longer the same William of today. The one of today, he's dying to go back to the, like, I think, prehistoric times, where you would have to bow if you see a royalty coming across your path. If royalty said, I want your house for tonight, I want to host a party, you would say yes, you would organize the party, and they wouldn't need to do anything. They wouldn't need to lift a finger for you. Like, talk less of, like today, talk less of giving money for the people to prepare. Like, he wants to go back to that time. He wants to establish that kind of time period all over again. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna be asking questions in my mind. Like, so I'm asking the question, like, what does William want to do with Charles? He wants to kill him. He wants to kill him. Yeah. So the rage is him towards Charles, because Charles would not die. Like, he wouldn't die. So William is finding himself having to revise his plans and sort of hurry those plans up. So hence what is going to happen, or like what is about to happen. Whenever I say things are about to happen, like, it could be weeks, it could be months, or even a year, or some or more. But the urgency of the energy means that person in the spiritual realm has gone beyond, and they're not going back. So whether it's today or tomorrow or in a few weeks or years time, it's going to happen. Like, the vitriol that I'm sensing coming from him, right? With regards to when it comes to Charles. And then not just Charles, but, sorry to say, his own children as well. Like, he has no boundaries anymore. The only boundaries that I see existing is him putting boundaries of how much people can, like, the only boundaries I see existing is the battle with Charles. But the impact of the battle, there are no boundaries, because he really wants to go that far. Yeah. So, like, the fire of, so these two cards, right? This card here is sort of indicating the fire that the royal family has been operating under. So it's been like a yellow fire, orange fire. This is the fire that William wants to like remodel, right, his royal household into. Like, really, literally, the sense, the energy that it's as if it's his household. And he's not wrong, because I've been picking this up since, I think, like last year, 2 years ago. Like, his energy is there. He's on the throne. It is not Charles anymore. He is on the throne. It's never really been Charles. It's been William. Like, William would not let Charles even sit. So this is why, even before the Queen passed away, people were already clamoring for William rather than Charles. Like, Charles should just leave, step aside, and let William go. Because William was already planting the seeds, yeah, in the spiritual realm. So he wants to remodel it to like a blue fire, right? A blue fire is a lot less conspicuous and a lot more inconspicuous. Like, you would notice a blue fire less, far less than a red or orange fire, except if you're looking at it. So this fire is kind of like water, similar color of water. If you don't look or pay attention to, like, your energy, right? Like, what you're feeling when you're looking at this, you can mistake it for water. So like I hope I'm holding. Let me flip the card. This looks like the earth, and like the earth, and then water, because the earth has a lot of water, right? Seas, oceans. It looks like the earth, and it looks like the water surrounding the earth, right? And you've got here the waters, the seas. It looks like it. In fact, in another reading it can be interpreted as water, but it's not in this particular case, because you can see the flames. So these are not waves. In William's case, these are not waves, these are flames of fire, right? But it's blue, so like it's inconspicuous, at least certainly more. So now what I'm trying to say, he wants to highlight the fire from Charles and hide behind it to execute his coup, like his overthrowing of Charles in a nutshell. Now, one of the reasons why this is important, because he's not sparing the child, he's not sparing the children, like he's not sparing the child. And so I'm seeing George here, and then others as well, like even up until Harry's children. William is really far gone, like he's really the type, he's not even the far gone type of the queen, because at least like the Queen Elizabeth, I mean, like she could cope living in a 21st century environment, like modern environment. William is, he's itching out of that skin. He doesn't want to live in in this environment anymore. He's like fighting to bring it closer as speedily and as inconspicuously as he can, in a way that will not be obvious. Yeah. So you might notice, like the things that you notice about William versus Charles, don't dismiss it as being a figment of your imagination. It is not. It is true and it is real. Anything that is to do with the throne, the crown, and William connected to, let's say, uh, even Harry's children, pay attention to that, to those things, because William would not stop at anything. And again, I'm saying that he's won the war. He's won this war with Charles and the kids. Like he's won the war. So he feels as if he has nothing to worry about, right? But the thing is, like whenever, let me say, like tarot readers or people do readings or a reading on him, that is a powerful weapon to dismantle whatever he had created. Because see, darkness hates the light, right? And when the light being shown on it is, the light is the equivalent of readings. Like when you read into a situation or you read into someone, like whether you're reading something positive or negative, it's still light because it's opening it to the light. Like it's not hidden, in it's not inconspicuous, it isn't darkness. Yeah. So, and that's what he hates, that's what he doesn't want. Yeah. So in another reading that I did, like the oh, see, the energy is so like chaotic. So he's like, he wants to keep an eye out for the popularity levels of the Sussex kids. Um, if they become too threatening, potentially threatening, he would cut them off. And by cut them off, I mean shedding blood. I don't mean cutting off with money. He doesn't care. Unlike Charles, like again, I've explained this before. With Charles, Charles is pretty much like, if you want the throne, you don't need to kill me to get the throne. I'll give you the throne. Just give me money and I'll be off. I'll go retire somewhere on some island and I won't bother you, right? But what I'm getting here with regards to William is, so long as the gap between his plans and what the Sussexes are doing and what the world is willing to grasp, right? Or understand. In other words, the closer or the quicker we get to the world opening its eyes to either the the work, the machinations of the Sussexes, or the machinations of the Cambridges, the closer the gap is widening, narrowing, the quicker he wants to know, he wants to deal with the issue of the Sussexes. Unlike his father, who would be, even at this present time, be willing to help Harry and still is financially, right, with his bills and everything in the US. William is not like that. William is not, at least the William of today, he's not really the type of, I will help you financially as long as you stay out of my way. Right. So even this thing of like Charles thinking, William, okay, just take the throne and then I'll just give me money and I'll go. He's mistaken. Charles, I beg your pardon. Charles really underestimates William's thirst for power and just how much William would rather spill blood than have the person just physically out of the way, like still living, but just out of the way. Yeah. Um, and keeping them away financially. Now, I'm looking at this and like, I'm just asking, to the cast, like, why? Is it because he's afraid? Is it because of power? Is it because it's power? It's power. Nothing else but pure, unadulterated power. Yeah. So if you're wondering where the spiritual nexus, which is the royal family, like that I've talked about, where it's going, where it's heading into, it's pure, unadulterated power. So therefore, the theme in the world to come is unadulterated power, even more than materialism. Because the previous monarch was full of materialism, like the materialistic spirit, right? Though she didn't show it much. William is going to be of power, unadulterated power, not just like half power, half money. No, his is power. So, what it means is that is how the world is going to learn to operate as well. Like people are going to have that spirit as well of power, and imposing, just like the way power operates in essence. I mean, unadulterated power is very much, I don't need to impose myself on you. I will take what is yours that is now mine, that belongs to me, right? So kind of like that childishness, but it's fire surrounding it. So you dare not make the mistake of taking it lightly and thinking that it's a joke and it's not like a cute teddy bear. It isn't. That teddy bear holds fire, enough fire to burn if you're not careful. So having said that, again, if you want to deal with these energies, like these energies of unadulterated power, right? Like if someone is sort of um working that on you, use the cards. And if you want me to show you how, just let me know in the comment section, because one of the things is whenever I do readings on the royal family and I can feel the energies of it spreading in the world, I always like to help people on how to cope with it in their own individual lives, because it definitely spreads into people's individual lives whether people realize it or not. I mean, it's the same way in which coronavirus that started in one country can spread to other countries, and then all of a sudden, you who are like in Australia, you find yourself not being able to have your husband in the delivery room with you, or being able to visit your mother when she's passing away, literally, all because something started all the way in China. Like you don't even know perhaps any Chinese person, or you've never been to China, but you're finding yourself being affected for a virus that traveled that far, right? So literally, that's the case of the royal family. Like whatever you might think, it's far from you, and it's unconnected because you're not. You don't have anything to do with the royal family. That's not the case. It travels. It's a virus. So this virus of unadulterated power, like William wants that to reign, and it is going to reign because he's won. He's won. But what he doesn't know is that there are like people like myself who would not let that victory to go unnoticed. So that the more you talk about this that he's done in intricate like details, the less his fans, because when I was watching back the readings of the past before, what I said back then, his fans are the ones pushing him into it. Like he is, let me say, 80% involved, So he has 8% desire, right, to be in that position of unadulterated power. It's his fans though who push it to like 120. So they make up that 80% as well, and then an additional 20, and then an additional as well 20. So like they don't care if he decides to want to pull back. So in other words, because it's not William by himself, it means this trip, power trip that he's gone to, whether or not he wants it to continue, it's going to continue. One of the reasons being, people hardly talk about the fans of the royals. Like, I know they do already, they do, but not in the way that they should, not in the way that actually holds them responsible for what the royals do. Whereas that's how you should address them because they're part of it. In fact, they have a majority stake in what the royals do. They manipulate things behind the scenes. Now, I will say this, what I pick up, like, again, comparing the powers, fire powers, the fans of the Cambridges are a lot more spiritually powerful than the fans of the Sussexes. Yeah, so they've been at it, but the fans of the Sussexes are weaker than the fans of the Cambridges, and that's also something that's going to come up. So what I'm trying to say is that no matter how much the Sussexes may try to counteract whatever the Cambridges are doing, and this is really important to say because even if you don't believe what I'm saying, but the arrogance of William, it's going to become so toxic, so nauseating that it, you won't feel like even you who did not believe what I'm saying, or maybe did not see or want to see it, you'll have no choice but to see it and feel it. Like it's gonna stink. His self-righteousness, like just that power trip, that power, like just running after the power, right? That it's going to be so bad, so much that you're going to want the Sussexes to offer some kind of control of that unbridled power play, power trip. You want the Sussexes to do that, but unbeknownst to you, the Sussexes themselves would not be able to because they're weaker, and so that could cause you to panic because imagine a monarch in a position of power who is just, you can literally see right before your eyes, he is gunning for power and he doesn't feel or doesn't look like he's about to stop. Like his demeanor literally looks like, I don't care what you people say, who do you think you are? I'm not listening. And then he continues on what he's doing, right? That kind of energy you feel, as if his ears are blocked and his ears have suddenly turned into stone, like that kind of thing, So seeing that, you would want someone else to bounce against him and humble him a little bit. Again, similar to when Meghan Markle, when she was in the royal family before Brexit, when she felt like she could just run ahead, right, and leave the institution behind and leave the people who support the institution behind, and you sort of think, can't someone stop her? Yeah, it's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing for William as well. Like, can't someone stop him? Like, tell him he's doing wrong. We still love him. Like, even if you still love him, like, he's going to disappoint you. Like, he's really going to displease. He's really going to betray a lot of people who were claiming not to support him, but secretly were supporting him. Yeah, yeah. The betrayal is going to be massive. So yeah, he wants to not go after, but monitor the Sussex kids. And And he's going to do it using really righteous. If anything happens to the Sussex kids, it's on William. That's all I'd say. It's on William. It doesn't mean he'll succeed, because people like myself, like people like us, we don't let him get away with all these things that's reassuring. Now I know that there are certain things that would happen that we can't stop, because as a reader, as a tarot reader, you can only do so much when you see things in the spiritual, in the room of the spirit. Because the victims, or let me say like the victims also have a role to play, some kind of role to play. So I can't very well like talk about the Sussexes or something, anything happening with their children, if they are not ready to listen. Because in the room of the spiritual, it's one thing for people to shut their ears and not listen, not be willing to listen. It's another thing for people to just like sing over whatever you're saying. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that I would say these things about William, and then in would come, like, let's say an article of Harry praising him, right? It's like you have no idea what your brother is capable of or is going to be capable of. And any time that I would, let me say, identify these spirits, right? Coming from William, Harry, or even Meghan, or even Meghan's family would rush to cover it up. Because, so one thing that I'm seeing, which it wasn't there before in the past. Like in the past, William hardly cared about Meghan's family, but all of a sudden he does, and it's not recent, but like he's given money to the Markle family, not the Queen, not Charles. William has given money to the Markle family, like kind of like to shut them up, but also to keep them comfortable, like allies, so that they'll keep their mouths shut. Because one of the things is, and let me say something random. Maybe someone watching this might have had a dream recently or of late about the royals, or especially William, handing them money, handing them a coin or something. That's him doing this. What he has been doing, he's been going in the spiritual, like in the spiritual realm, he's been going after people whose spiritual eyes have been getting opened, to shut them down again. That's what he's been doing. So by exchange of money, coins. And the coin is just indicative of how cheap he thinks they are. Because why doesn't he hand, like, he thinks they're cheap. He thinks they're cheap. Well, at least he thinks that that is the worth of these people, and I guess to some extent the spiritual eyes, right? And I mean, he's not, if they're willing to take that money, he's not wrong. But anyway, so I do see him shutting their eyes. So why the Markles? Because their eyes were opened to some degree. I've explained this in the past, I believe, in past readings, that those whose eyes, so when it comes to the royal family, or like the nexus, those whose eyes would be able to see much more inside the royals do not like people looking into them. They don't mind people looking at them, admiring or criticizing them even. They don't mind. But they do mind people looking into them. They don't like that scrutiny, whether it's spiritual scrutiny or even, yeah, less physical scrutiny, right? So, of course, lately there had been scrutiny due to Meghan Markle coming in and shaking them. Those whose eyes have been spiritually open to the royal family, like the real underbelly of royalty, the royals, those whose eyes have been opened the most are those who, almost from the beginning, were criticizing Meghan. Because Meghan carried an energy of like a trailblazer, like a trailblazing energy. And when that energy comes into a clash with other people, the fire turns from a beautiful fire to a fire that can burn. So rather than the fire beautifying the royal family and beautifying Meghan Markle, it comes into a clash with people who are criticizing her. Now, those people who are clashing her, they also have their own elements inside of them. Everybody has a spiritual element. Like we have spiritual like we have physical DNA, individual DNA in us, there is also spiritual DNA in each and every one of us. And our spiritual DNAs harbor like what some would say minerals or like elements, right? So let's say someone has the element of blue fire, and then the person just so happens to have been clashing with Meghan Markle when she was going, like, doing all those things, going crazy with the royal family. The clash, regardless of like these two people, both Meghan Markle and the person, would not be able to tell what the consequences of the clash would be. So they wouldn't know that the fire, they wouldn't know that the clash would cause this fire that is supposed to beautify the royal family and that is supposed to burn away criticism of the royal family would now turn into fire that actually burns the royal family itself. They wouldn't know that that's how it would become, but it had, right? So what it means is this fire that used to like illuminate the royal family has now turned into burning the royal family. Now the scrutiny has now like the barriers of the scrutiny have opened, and there's no holding back when people scrutinize or look into the royal family or even criticize them. So William has gone on a rampage in the spiritual realm to shut people, like it's like shutting down people's YouTube channels to get them to close their eyes, right? So those people who had been criticizing her from the beginning, those are the ones whose eyes will be opened the most, because unlike those who had, let me say, like welcomed her and her shenanigans, right? Even when in the intuition back then was very loud that this woman, she's not completely sane. Like she does a lot of things and then plays the victim, right? People who had been sort of like going soft on her back then, they would not see the full story that those on the opposite side had seen from the beginning. Now, continuing from that, so there are different degrees of people's eyes opening. Now, those people who had been seeing her, like Megan's true colors from the beginning, some of them had gone back to only criticizing Megan and giving a pass to the royal family, including William, including Catherine, right? um, those people would also be partially, they would be as partially blind as those who gave Megan the accolades and benefit of the doubt in the beginning. So it's an equal level of blindness. Unlike those people who, so I'm picking up the Markles here, myself and others. So, because like I've been having mad dreams about the royals, some I would even forget. And it's only now that I'm being reminded of just how much. And like I would wake up feeling really angry, feeling incensed, and not even realize that it was because this is the whole picture. Him trying to buy my silence. Yeah. So I didn't realize that at the time. I just thought it was like maybe William trying to again sneak up on Charles, right? But in his mind, Charles might as well be us, people like me. So hence why, like the picture, I thought it was Charles he was after, like in my dreams, but it turns out it was also me or people like myself. So people like myself, people like the Markles, because the Marcos had also been sort of like skeptical of the Royals, like, okay, you guys are supporting her. Even from the beginning, they were already like, the royal family is not helping. Why aren't you reprimanding Meghan, right? So they saw both sides, criticizing Meghan and being able to criticize the royals as well. And those are the ones who, compared to the two camps, will be able to see with much more clarity, much more like being lucidity, right? But those people, the silence, it can be bought, but it would only be a temporary purchase. And William doesn't know that. He doesn't realize it. In fact, because they've gotten to a level of like, they were able to see through the manipulation. And even way back then, the manipulation was so heavy that, I mean, anyone who came through it, really still maintaining their positions, like it's really a lot. It's a big deal. Like it means the third eye was really, really open heavily. So the spiritual realm puts some kind of protection, some cover of protection on these people that they themselves may not fully understand, but they'll realize it. So what I'm seeing is William trying to bribe the Markles to keep their silence, but it's not going to work. If anything, because now he's attacked people who's, I guess, like two eyes, third and fourth eye. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. Having opened, it's like it's sacrilege. It's like an abomination. Yeah. Because he's targeting those who could save him. Because The fire that started with the clashes of Meghan Markle's energy, even the royal family, like the clash that happened, the the fire is uncontrollable. It is fire that cannot be quenched. Like in another reading, I'll talk more about it because I don't want to be just like I don't want to lose my train of thought because this fire is not quenchable. Like it's the kind of fire that I don't know if you've read Harry Potter. There's the name of this kind of fire, the a type of fire that could not be quenched. Very, very difficult to, I think, impossible to quench or impossible to contain, right? And he ended up killing one of Malfoy's friends. That kind of fire, like it burns everything in its wake. That fire has been lit, and it's not going to stop. William himself doesn't even know that. Like he doesn't know that he's there. So it's like these people you're trying to bribe, they are the ones. So let's say like this would be William. These people you're trying to bribe, that money, that coin is going to weigh them down. They are not going to burn because seeing as they are part of the composition of this fire, because they were a part of admonishing this rotten fire of Meghan's and the royal family. So in essence, like this double energy fire belongs to them. It is them. They're a part of that fire. They're going to be weighed down by your coin, but it's not going to burn them. Like the fire isn't going to burn them. If anything, it's going to make them shine even brighter. Because the more of this fire, i.e., revelations, come out, these people are going to speak. They will not be able to hold back. So all you're doing is bringing them closer to you for you to be burnt. So if they are weighed down by your coin, they're going to come down. You're not going to be able to hang on to their coattails for them to ride up and out with you. But he doesn't know that, William, because of his hubris. So he wants to beautify a lot of his actions. So in all this reading that I'm doing, the main energy or message, I guess, he wants to beautify his actions. The war that is raging is pretty much nearly over. And you're just gonna see like be seeing the effects in the physical realm in time to come. What it means, like with this card, it says, even though William has all these defects, I don't know, like I guess these bad points. So one of them is this rumor of Rose being with him that he hasn't debunked. These rumors of him like having a child elsewhere, because there's certain like they haven't gained track, but he's not silenced those rumors, even though he knows how far it could go. These things to do connected to relationship, it's gonna affect him as a result of like what he was doing in the spiritual realm, trying to bribe people. And I'm seeing it in the form of his marriage with Catherine. Because the war is over, he won't see what is coming, right? So it's almost like he's finished doing what he was doing. He's planted the flowers. They have bloomed, right? He can see these flowers. Now, this card really indicates him. And to some degree, it actually shows how pretty Machiavellian he is. That this is the card. It looks like a fairy tale, like a doll. But it's not him insofar as this is the image, the only image he wants to project. He's more than that. He is also this, like a teddy bear. He looks innocuous, he looks innocent. Even in the video that he did on the coronation, he looked so almost like innocent, like a child, like a baby, like telling the kid, checking to see if the kids were ready, almost this sense of duty. is what he'll carry, but there's fire behind, and it looks like kind of like chalk, right? Like a scary monster. If you look close enough at the expressions, especially, so it shows like how difficult it would be. Like if I'm not using the cards, it would be so difficult. I mean, like I'm sure you can sense maybe my difficulty. It's so difficult weaving out what is going on with this man because he's all and nothing. He's all and he's everything and he is nothing. Like he's this kind of burning fire, but he's also a teddy bear. He's this fire right here, but he's also a woman in white and pink and flowers all around him. And in the darkness, like the the corners, the darkness, right? He's so difficult to read into, but it's only a matter of time before I'm gonna do another reading, several other readings on him because I think it's very important. And by then, more would have like the energies would be much more. He himself is going to feel it and he won't feel the need, he won't feel so much need to hide behind the witchcraft that he has done because it's a lot of witchcraft. It's so much that the energies are heavy, the energies are very lethargic even. Yeah, so that's him in a nutshell. But what it means is he won't see it coming when he won't see it coming like that the energies backfire. So he's finished doing what he was doing in the spiritual realm. Now it is only a matter of time before these things manifest in the physical realm. But whilst these things, or before these things manifest in the entirety, with the full force of the spiritual energy he poured into it, there are going to be a couple of things like me fighting against it. And that says a lot. Now, you might think like I'm unimportant. And I do consider myself unimportant because I don't really care about the roles, not anymore. I mean, but if this card is here and I use a pin and I scratch a little bit, that as long as there's a little scratch, it's no longer the same card. That's the power of the Nexus, the royal family. No matter what people might think, even the tiniest bit of criticism, it serves to distort the image. Because the royals do not just, the power of the Nexus and the royals, it does not just operate on how pretty or how complete it looks. It may look complete, but the royal family's power, it operates on several dimensions, one of which is 3D, 2D, whatever other dimension. So what I'm trying to say is you're gonna see a complete image, right? And when you see this complete image, you say to yourself, or you might say to me, if you're a royal family supporter, you might say to me, well, you can't do much in the spiritual realm. But see, the spiritual realm and the royal family's power, it doesn't work only on the plane of what you see. It also works on emotions. It works with feelings. It works with emotions. So therefore, if the royal family is trying to capture everybody's emotions, and I mean everybody's emotions, some people might give in more than uh more than me, right? But no matter how much I may give in, I know that I do not want to give in. So little old me is gonna cause a fissure in the power of the Nexus because that power. See, if you have £1 million or $1 million and you remove one p, like one penny, right? Or 1 cent, it is no longer 1 million, is what I'm trying to say. I will not let William use my energy to kill children and to kill people. Like, I won't do that. So, not just me, but like, there are many other things in place that people are doing and people have been doing, like even unbeknownst to them. Like, for example, the Markle family continuing to give interviews. Unbeknownst to them, that's exposing William. He just doesn't know it. The staff, there's going to be issues with the staff. The staff have not let go of that bullying accusation. It's going to continue. And that is also exposing William because there's the things that William has done. It'll be difficult to explain to you at this moment just because of just things seeming like things are not heading in that direction, or as if okay, everything is normal and business as usual. But when things start kicking off, you're going to see the extent to which William can be implicated and therefore exposed in these things. Because like the investigation for the bullying, of staff, it's William who shut it down. Um, whatever, like the things that have been happening in the past few years, it is William who was either shutting them down or pushing it in public and in private. Like he's really been taking the reins above Charles. So in a nutshell, like, well, that's what's gonna happen. He's going to both get exposed, and a lot of things, it's gonna backfire. It's gonna backfire. So it's just like, I'm just putting it out there as well, because his energy has been really strong, like preventing me from seeing what exactly he's doing. Like I would capture so much energy. I mean, to the point where I'll be prompted to do this reading like I'm doing today. But then I want to know what exactly is going on, what exactly he's doing. And like he pretends as if he wasn't doing anything. Like his level of gaslighting is so high and it's so wrong that it would take a while for everything that he's done to be exposed. But unbeknownst to him, it will be exposed in one way or another. It will be exposed. So it's just to say that not just to his spirit, but also, like, his family, right? And fans who support him, that he's going to be exposed. So whatever that you see in the newspapers, and that, because one of the things is, whenever he or the fans, they see something coming out in the newspapers, right? Because the newspapers are also the spiritual version of voices opening up, right, to the masses. So whenever they see things in the newspapers, they always run around in the spiritual realm and the physical realm to do damage control and to silence and stifle people. So like this reading is even like enough. Your stifling is not going to succeed. It's not going to do much. Like people can see through it. I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes for people to not feel as if they're imagining these signs. So they're gonna pay attention whether they want to or not, whether they like it or not. So your efforts are futile to try to silence people or to try to get people to no longer read into you. You're not untouchable. People can and should read into you insofar as you're either pretending and lying to their faces, gaslighting them, right? And you won't give the reason why, because you know that the reason is so much worse, so much more grave than you've been letting on. Like growing up, this image that William had, and I used to like him, like this image of him just being Diana's son and being like the purity surrounding him. I mean, I know everyone's not perfect, but just that's kind of similar image, right? And then marrying the love of his life, only to learn that he is heavily involved in witchcraft that is nothing to do with him. Everybody practices witchcraft. It just depends on your definition of what witchcraft is. But he does, to the extent that even those who've been practicing it for hundreds of years would be surprised. Like his grandmother would be surprised at what he's done, because he's so, I mean, it might sound contradictory, because I know I've talked before about the queen, and the spiritual work and witchcraft that she's done, that they've all been doing. But even they are not ready for the type of person, for the type of a dictator that William is going to be in the realm of the spiritual. They're not ready. Charles as well. Like Charles really underestimates what William is like and what William could do. But that is a mistake. Like that would be a mistake. So I'm going to do another reading, maybe today or sometime down the throughout the week. And pay attention to the energies, because that's just what I feel. Like his energy is so heavy, and that of his supporters is even more, it's twice as heavy as his. Yeah.